You know, in our ongoing quest to have as much fun as we possibly can with 22s, today we're going to build on the experience we've had in other videos where we actually took a Ruger 22 pistol, we shot it at 25, 50, and 100 yards. And frankly, if you haven't watched it yet, it was really interesting. We learned a lot, and it did much better than I think any of us anticipated. What we're going to do today is take 22 long rifle bolt-action rifle and a 22 Magnum bolt-action rifle. The most accurate rifles I own in that caliber are a pair of Anschütz. We've pre-shot them with some different brands of 22s and have found what they really like. But what we're going to do now is we're going to shoot them very carefully at 100 yards with optics. And I think it'll give us all a little better sense of what you can really do with a good high-quality 22 long rifle and 22 Magnum at 100 yards. And then if the weather cooperates, we're going to push that out to 200 yards. Okay, we're getting set up here now. This is actually it's an older Anschütz 22 long rifle. It's historically been my most accurate 22. I've got a True Glow, kind of a target scope on it, and it has a parallax adjuster, which is very important for 22s. You want to be able to set the parallax on the scope for the range that you're shooting. And in this case, I dialed in 100 yards. We can talk about parallax another time. I'm going to shoot two loads. I'm going to shoot this Federal load, which is a kind of high-end target match load, and then a CCI Mini Mag hollow point, which historically has actually shot pretty well. But the goal here is to see if there's a difference between a premium ammunition and a more of a generic over-the-counter Walmart kind of an ammunition. Okay, let's see. Okay, we've shot two 5-round groups at 100 yards with the Anschütz 22 long rifle. We used Federal gold medal and Mini Mag hollow points. So now we'll take a peek at the target and see how we did. Well, this was really interesting. It's a little blowy today, and the targets really show that. What we have here on the top is a 22 Anschütz shooting CCI Mini Mag hollow points. And what we had is started a pretty decent group right here. Now this is at 100 yards. And then the wind was coming from this direction, and then the wind abruptly shifted, and then my next two shots landed over here. I think you can see that we were getting a fairly decent group there, and so had the wind remained consistent, you know, we probably would have gotten a couple inches, probably. But that will tell you what a few mile-an-hour wind, we're probably at about 6 to 8 miles an hour, what that would actually do. Now down here, it's actually really interesting. This is the Federal gold medal match. I think what I'm learning here is that there's a great deal of consistency in the loading process, meaning the velocity is probably very consistent from round to round. Also, the slightly lower velocity, I think, was less sensitive to the wind. This was shot immediately after this, and so we were dealing with basically the same winds. The only thing that worked to my advantage here was I think I didn't have an abrupt wind shift. But basically, I think that this shows at some level, and indeed with some other testing we did with similar ammunition, that this is perfectly adequate for small game hunting. There's nothing wrong with that. You probably could even shoot a squirrel at 100 yards if you were paying attention. But I think for real consistency, you can readily see the benefit of a premium match quality ammunition. But again, you have to check it in your guns. And for my particular rifle, it seems to like the Federal gold medal match. However, it doesn't do bad with the CCI Mini Mag hollow points. Okay, we're going to change these targets out and then repeat this exact process, but using the Anschütz 22 Magnum. Well, this has really been a lot of fun so far. We learned that you can actually shoot pretty well with a 22 long rifle at 100 yards, and especially if you have the right ammunition. We're switching to my Anschütz 22 Magnum right now, only because it's my most accurate 22 Magnum. We'll be shooting two kinds of ammunition. They're both 22 Magnum. We have CCI Maxi Mag, which is basically 22 Magnum, and then I have a kind of an old stash of Federal Premium 22 Magnum, which uses a 30-grain Sierra jacketed hollow point. So it's a real bullet. It's a real jacketed hollow point bullet. It's been my experience with this particular rifle that the Maxi Mag will shoot usually about 2.5 inches at 100 yards, and on a good day, I can actually get sub 1 inch with this federal ammunition. Now these may reverse in your rifle, you never know. But with this rifle, I'm anticipating that this load will probably shoot moderately better than the Maxi Mag. But let's find out. Okay, we just shot 10 rounds, 5 rounds of the federal, 5 rounds of the Maxi Mag at 100 yards at 2 separate targets. Now let's mosey down and see how we did. Now the wind did kick up a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see how that affected everything. All right, well this is interesting. We're at the 100-yard line. Here we have our 2 targets. This is the CCI Maxi Mag 22 Magnum hollow point. This is the federal 30 grain Sierra load. And frankly, I'm impressed by both of them. This was moderately windy day. We were having fairly consistent wind, which I think also helps. The wind direction was this way, and you can see that both groups are slightly off to the left. I think if I had to put my money where my mouth is, I would say you can see that there's slightly better consistency here with this particular federal load in my rifle. We have a little broader spread here, but you know what? Either one of these is something you could take to the bank, and my hat goes off to both of these manufacturers. So what we've learned here is basically if you have a good quality 22 Magnum bolt action rifle, for instance, and you scope it correctly, you do your job when it comes to trigger squeeze and sight picture, it looks like you can get 1 to 1.5 inches pretty reliably at 100 yards. So we're going to have a little fun now, and we're going to push this test to 200. Let's see what happens. But you'll have to tune into another video. Well, hey, I thought that was a lot of fun. I recommend get your own 22 rifle, get some good ammunition, go have some fun with it for sure. We're here in my backyard, and we've got Scout and Amelie helping us here. And they want to remind you that when you're out shooting, remember the 4 firearm safety rules, and also always wear ear and eye protection. I'm Roy Huntington and Scout and Amelie saying thanks a lot, and I'll see you later.